Welcome to the Tim Booker channel, where wisdom is worth spreading. Wishing you a pleasant listening experience. Today, I'll be decoding a book from the realm of education titled, How to Raise Successful People. This book title carries an imposing tone. What kind of person would dare to write such a book? The author's name is Esther Wojcicki, known as the Silicon Valley Mother of Education. This title might lead you to believe she's a tech magnate in the US industry, but that's not the case. She's simply a high school teacher, yet she commands great respect in the United States. She's graced the cover of Time magazine, earned the distinction of California's Teacher of the Year, initiated America's largest high school media program, and founded a global education initiative related to space exploration. For 36 years at Palo Alto High School in Silicon Valley, she taught journalism, honing a straightforward yet highly effective educational philosophy that has successfully nurtured thousands of students. Among these students, there are remarkable talents, from politicians and entrepreneurs to university professors at prestigious institutions. There are also noted writers, directors, actors, and sports stars, including NBA player Jeremy Lin. Epstein, the former head of Forbes magazine's Beijing branch, was also her student. Even Apple's co-founder Steve Jobs, to ensure his daughter's education matched her potential, went so far as to move her from her previous school to the high school where Esther taught. Esther's teaching inspires the potential within each student, empowering them to excel in their areas of strength. However, as the saying goes, excelling as a teacher doesn't necessarily equate to excelling as a parent. The ability to educate other people's children might not translate to effectively educating one's own. But Esther is not only an exceptional teacher, she's an extraordinary mother as well. With 3 daughters dubbed the Silicon Valley Three Musketeers, each one has a legendary trajectory. Her eldest, Susan Wojcicki, was Google's 16th employee and is known as the Mother of Google. Google's founders, Larry and Sergey, began their venture in her garage. As her tenant, she found their work intriguing and joined the endeavor, becoming one of Google's foundational figures. She later convinced Google to acquire YouTube and became its CEO. Her fortune now approaches $500 million, and she was once listed among the world's 100 most powerful women. Esther's second daughter, Janet Wojcicki, pursued an academic path. A Stanford graduate, she's now a professor at the University of California, San Francisco, engaged in anthropological and epidemiological research in Africa. She's aided numerous HIV, AIDS and obesity patients. The youngest daughter, Anne Wojcicki, is a successful entrepreneur. A Yale biology graduate, she founded a gene testing company valued in the billions. This firm introduced a service that detects various latent diseases through saliva testing, including cancer. This innovation was hailed as Time magazine's invention of the year. Her fortune nears $700 million, and she was ranked the 10th most inspiring leader in the global tech industry in 2019. Esther's background isn't illustrious, she's just a high school teacher. Yet she's nurtured 2 billionaires and a university professor. This educational accomplishment is truly remarkable. Consequently, many parents and teachers seek her advice on the secrets to raising children. She asserts that parenting isn't as complex as it may seem, a few fundamental principles suffice. These are trust, respect, independence, collaboration, and kindness. These 5 principles, when their initials are combined, spell trick, conveniently resembling the word for techniques and strategies. Esther named this educational doctrine the trick principle. This book delves into the detailed exposition of these principles, but it's important to note that it deals with principles, not methods. According to the author, every child possesses unique traits and grows in distinct environments. Specific teaching methods might not be universally applicable, but some core principles are shared. Principles reflect values and are more akin to the essence of education than mere methodologies. Following the trick principle, she claims, can effortlessly foster joyful and successful children who contribute to the future world. So, is it truly as magical as it sounds? Next, I'll break down these principles for you one by one. The first principle is trust. The word trust is frequently on our lips, but it's mostly used in the context of interactions between adults. It's used between friends, spouses, and partners. We often discuss matters of trust in such relationships. However, when it comes to educating children or communicating with them, we rarely mention the concept of trust. This is because when discussing trust, there's an implicit assumption of a rough equality in status between parties. However, children are far from being equal to adults in terms of physicality, knowledge, experience, and wealth. As a result, we tend to adopt a condescending attitude when speaking to children, resorting to commanding, threatening, lecturing, and even scolding. We seldom consider building an equal and mutual trusting relationship with children, which happens to be the root of many issues. Of course, this is a personal level reason. Apart from this, there are societal reasons. Presently, society harbors a pervasive sense of distrust. As the author puts it, there's a prevailing crisis of trust in the world. This isn't an exaggeration. Let's ask a few questions. Do you trust babysitters? Do you trust kindergartens? Do you trust your neighbors in your community? Do you trust school teachers? Do you trust strangers? If we're honest with ourselves, most of the time, we find it difficult to fully trust. Even for roles like babysitters, neighbors, and teachers, who should be close figures, we frequently come across alarming news about breaches of trust from these groups, particularly regarding harm to children. The author mentions that in some American schools, there are even rules that prohibit teachers from being alone with students in a room and from hugging students. She recounts an incident when she drove a child home from school and almost faced punishment until she proved the child was her grandniece. This situation is due to a world filled with mistrust, making parents anxious and fearful, resulting in the desire to control every aspect of their children's lives. They refrain from allowing children to walk to school on their own, visit friends' houses alone, or go shopping independently. They warn children not to talk to strangers or accept food from them. While some of these precautions stem from safety concerns and have their necessity, there are also more severe forms of distrust that are unwarranted. For instance, not believing children can eat or sleep on their own, not believing they can complete their homework on time, not believing they will willingly practice. Many parents excessively protect or discipline their children out of fear that their children will fail or get hurt. If a child fails or gets hurt, parents often blame themselves, causing them not to trust their children and refrain from giving them enough freedom. What consequences does this have? Children under such circumstances are apprehensive, they don't dare to be their authentic selves, to take risks, or to face challenges. They lack the capacity to grow independently. Someone who isn't trusted by others finds it difficult to be confident, they're more prone to anger, sadness, and depression. They lack a sense of security in the world and a sense of trust. This might manifest in heightened aggression and diminished pro-social behavior such as cooperation and sharing. So, what can be done? First and foremost, parents need to have confidence themselves. If they inherently trust the world, they won't pass their fear, anxiety, and doubt onto their children. The first step in establishing trust is for parents to trust themselves. Next, parents need to trust their children and consciously train them. For instance, consider sleeping habits. Many parents worry their children can't sleep on their own, thinking they need to be coaxed or accompanied. She says this lack of trust in a child's ability to sleep independently. If you believe your child can sleep alone and teach them how, they'll be able to. Their bed will become a safe haven, not a scary place. Even if they can't fall asleep immediately, they'll find self-soothing methods like sucking their fingers or playing with toys. The author's daughter, for instance, began sleeping on her own at just 3 months old. Parents should give their children more trust and empower them. Instead of constantly setting limits or negating their children, parents should allow their children to grow and learn at their own pace. Sometimes children may not progress as quickly as parents hope, they might disappoint their parents' trust occasionally or even tell lies. At such times, instead of immediately resorting to harsh judgments, labeling them as untrustworthy or deceitful, parents should engage in discussions with them about what went wrong. When someone is trusted fully, they develop a sense of empowerment and believe they are worthy of respect and reliance. This is how they become increasingly confident and resilient. So, that's the conclusion on trust. Now, let's move on to the second principle, respect. The principle of respect might seem straightforward. In modern society, children are highly valued. Regardless of whose children they are cherished like treasures, shielded from even the slightest harm or discomfort. Parents are willing to make sacrifices to provide their children with good food, clothing, and the best education. In an ordinary household, a significant portion of daily expenses is dedicated to children. Parents today invest so much for their children, but can we say that they truly respect their children? Regrettably, that's not necessarily the case, because respecting and focusing on a child are two different things. The behaviors I mentioned earlier merely indicate that parents are attentive to their children's growth and education, but they do not necessarily reflect genuine respect for their children. So, what does it take to demonstrate respect? In my opinion, there are two main aspects. Firstly, it's about respecting a child's inherent nature and allowing their lives to unfold naturally. Each child's developmental pace is unique. Some children might naturally develop more slowly in certain areas or appear weaker, such as language, logical thinking, manual skills, and physical abilities. As parents, we should respect their natural talents and not try to rush their development. Avoid over-encouraging and avoid comparing them constantly to other children. We should believe that children will grow at their own pace and develop according to their own life rhythms. Secondly, we should respect children as independent individuals with their own autonomy. What does this mean? We often hear the saying that children are a reflection of their parents. This saying mainly reminds parents to be conscious of their behavior and not set bad examples. It sounds reasonable, but it can be misleading. It can lead to viewing children as extensions of themselves, as projects they've created. They might think that besides carrying on their genetic lineage, their children should also follow their life goals. When parents think this way, their actions can easily become distorted, unconsciously exerting immense pressure on their children and coercively binding them with their own emotions and will. For instance, we frequently witness parents forcing their children to practice piano or dance from a young age, insisting that they must practice for several hours every day before they can rest. The child might not have any interest in this, but due to parental pressure, they're obliged to practice. In some cases, this could result in the child's anger and rebellion, leading them to smash the piano or resist their parents. Another example relates to university choices. Many parents feel that their child must attend a certain university or pursue a popular major. However, the child may have no interest in these choices. Some overbearing parents impose their own will on their children. While the child might follow their parents' advice, they might never truly be interested. This is not a recipe for success. The book provides an example of a girl who was attractive, outgoing, and even the student council president. Her dream was to become a teacher. However, her parents believed that a doctor's social status was higher, so they insisted she study medicine. She complied with their wishes and entered a prestigious medical school. She spent many years studying something she had no interest in. After graduation, everyone anticipated she would embark on a medical career. However, she had never practiced medicine a single day in her life. She realized she had no interest in it. She had only chosen medicine to please her parents. When it was done, she decided to pursue what she truly loved. Let's look at two more positive examples, both related to the author's daughters. As mentioned earlier, the author's youngest daughter majored in biology at Yale University, a highly prestigious institution. Many would envy this achievement. However, what did she want to do after graduation? You probably won't guess it, she wanted to become a professional nanny, taking care of children. She had a strong affection for children. Most parents would be dumbfounded by this choice. The author herself was also surprised, but she didn't immediately discourage or scold her daughter. Instead, she allowed her daughter to work as a nanny while exploring other job opportunities on the side. After a few months of working as a nanny, her daughter joined a biotech company, where she felt incredibly fulfilled. The author's second daughter, Janet, works year-round with AIDS patients in Africa. Most parents probably couldn't accept this career choice. The author herself had concerns, but she still respected her daughter's choice. She even traveled to Africa to visit her daughter. She was pleasantly surprised to find that local people were extremely kind and respected her daughter. To welcome her, every household offered the best food from their homes. Their warmth touched the author deeply. She said, "This experience, more than anything, has made me more emotional on every Mother's Day." So, as you can see, respecting a child's wishes is crucial. The book emphasizes that children aren't replicas of their parents, they're individuals with autonomy. They might lead very different lives from their parents. If parents use their own experiences to plan their children's futures, it could lead to mistakes. Parents should respect each child's unique talents and personalities. A parent's role is to support their children in discovering and pursuing their own goals, rather than dictating what profession they should pursue or how they should live. Sure. After discussing trust and respect, let's move on to the third principle, independence. Regarding independence, I'd like to start with an observation made by the author. In her teaching experience, she noticed that each generation of students lacks confidence, becomes more reliant on others, fears expressing their own opinions, is afraid of failure and making mistakes, and is more prone to anxiety and depression when facing adulthood. This phenomenon, which she terms the parenting crisis, is, according to her, primarily caused by excessive parental protection. She points out that the education children receive from a young age focuses heavily on excelling academically and getting into prestigious universities. Children with artistic or athletic talents are pushed to excel in those areas, with other aspects often being overlooked. While such children might become academic achievers or excel in their talents under parental guidance, they often lack the ability to live independently and think for themselves. The downsides of this educational approach become apparent as these children enter adulthood. The author firmly opposes the so-called tiger mom style of parenting, which involves high levels of control and an emphasis on achieving top grades. She believes this approach not only exhausts parents but also prevents children from developing genuine interests. Children are not motivated by passion for learning, they're compelled to meet their parents' expectations. They fail to cultivate independence and instead accept a predetermined life path. The author's approach is quite different. She never demands her daughters be at the top of their class, nor does she require them to follow her directives. In fact, she and her husband consider independent thinking to be the most praiseworthy skill. She emphasizes that she never wants to see her children feeling helpless when facing challenges without adult assistance. She encourages them to creatively solve problems and find joy in pursuing their interests. As a result, her daughters demonstrated strong independence from a young age. So, how can parents foster independence in their children? The author provides numerous methods. Even when her elder daughter, Susan, was just 18 months old, the author assigned her tasks, such as being her younger sister's assistant during playtime. When the second daughter was born, Susan's task was to report to adults if her sister cried. This small responsibility made her feel proud and vital to the family. As she grew, she started giving her sister medicine, feeding her, fetching toys, and performing simple chores. At the age of 2, the author trained her daughters to put on their own shoes, dress themselves, and comb their hair. While they occasionally resembled little lunatics, that was okay, she allowed them to be like that. When the children were around 5 or 6 years old, she permitted them to go to the supermarket alone and ride bicycles in their neighborhood. The same principle applied to homework. While assisting children with their assignments can be a headache for many parents, the author never rushed them to finish their homework. She believed that completing assignments was their responsibility. If they didn't finish, they had to face the consequences on their own. She told her daughters, "I believe you can do a good job, and I will be happy with whatever you achieve." Of course, if her daughters asked for help, she would gladly assist, but she refused to complete tasks for them. This philosophy aligns with the approach of Mae Musk, mother of Elon Musk, the famous entrepreneur. Mae, a best-selling author, raised several billionaires. She and the author are close friends. Mae told the author that she never checked her children's homework. Not that she didn't want to, but she simply didn't have the time. As a single mother working multiple jobs to support the family, she had her children mimic her signature, allowing them to sign documents on her behalf whenever parental signatures were required. These methods aim to cultivate independence in both daily life and education. Furthermore, the author emphasizes the importance of independent thinking. While teaching journalism at school, her students created 10 publications and multiple radio stations. She served as the guiding teacher, but the students were responsible for planning, writing, editing, printing, and distributing the content. She encouraged students to independently conduct research, interviews, and offer their own opinions on social news. She underscores the importance of nurturing writing skills, as writing serves as the starting point for independent thinking. Alright, after discussing independence, let's move on to the fourth principle, cooperation. You might have a question: are independence and cooperation contradictory? At first glance, they may seem so, but in reality, they are not conflicting. An individual needs both the spirit of independent thinking and the ability to live independently, as well as the capacity to cooperate with others, as humans are social creatures and cannot live in isolation. Therefore, when nurturing children, we must teach them the skill of cooperation. This includes collaboration with adults as well as with other children. In traditional education, parents and teachers often play authoritative roles, treating children sternly. In the classroom, the teacher's word is final, and students are not allowed to speak freely. They must raise their hands before speaking and adhere to classroom discipline. If students disrupt the order, they face punishment. However, the author does not want to be that kind of teacher or parent. She is a cheerful and humorous person who does not wish to control everything in the classroom, as doing so makes her uncomfortable. Not long after becoming a teacher, she began introducing innovations in the classroom. She paired each student with a partner and allocated time for them to self-study in groups during every class. This approach led to lively discussions among students, which drew the attention of the supervising principal. The principal believed that she was not effectively managing her class and that the classroom was out of control, thus demanding stricter discipline. The author was forthright with her students about the situation, explaining that if they wanted her teaching style to remain unchanged and wanted her to continue being their teacher, they needed to assist her. They had to remain quiet during the principal's visits. This teaching method disrupted the conventional hierarchical structure of the classroom and was welcomed by the students. The author implemented other innovations as well. For example, she paired lower-grade students with higher-grade students, where the latter acted as mentors to guide the former in writing. This cooperative mechanism yielded positive results. According to the author, when students feel they can collaborate with their teacher, they develop a heightened sense of self-worth and confidence, as they have someone backing them up. They believe in their own capabilities and can tolerate disappointment because they know they are integral team members, regardless of circumstances. Traditional educational methods often tend to be either autocratic or laissez-faire. The author disagrees with both approaches. Instead, she proposes a cooperative educational style. While it may seem that she gives children substantial freedom, it's freedom with constraints. She states, "I won't let students run amok in the news center. I want them to let their imaginations run wild when seeking article ideas, but they must strictly adhere to the rules of news writing and submit their drafts on time." Encouraging children to be willing collaborators is not an easy task. Children might exhibit a rebellious attitude and hold their own opinions. The three principles discussed earlier, trust, respect, and independence, are prerequisites for cooperation. Furthermore, parents should set a good example, practice active listening, and avoid attacking others recklessly. Whether parents can communicate and cooperate effectively will be evident to their children and will influence their behavior as well. Alright, the final principle of the trick framework is kindness. Teaching children to be kind is crucial. To be honest, when I reached this section, I was truly impressed by the author. She isn't just discussing how education can drive societal progress, she is emphasizing the importance of kindness. Why is kindness significant? Because the author observes that many parents focus solely on making their children winners in life, excelling in competitions and exams, and achieving greater financial success and social status. However, this approach might produce children who lack kindness and empathy. They might only worry about their own circumstances and show little concern for others' hardships. Such individuals might end up becoming refined egoists. The author cites a Harvard University survey report that examined 10,000 children. Among them, 80% prioritized personal achievement and happiness, while only 20% placed caring for others first. The survey also posed a question: would parents be prouder of their child achieving good grades or being a caring member of society? 3 times as many people agreed with prioritizing good grades over caring for others. Additionally, there is a constant stream of distressing incidents related to bullying in schools, which is a manifestation of the absence of kindness and empathy. These observations underscore the necessity for kindness education both at home and in schools. The author advocates for kindness not as mere moral preaching but as actual, tangible actions. She always approaches the world with kindness and understands that her words and actions impact her children and students. Therefore, she teaches them kindness, gratitude, and forgiveness. So, how does she achieve this? When her daughters were young, they had a Christmas tradition in their family. They would buy the saddest, most unwanted tree from a supermarket, the leftover ones nobody wanted. They would then take it home and decorate it as beautifully as possible. Her daughters enjoyed decorating the Christmas tree, and through this process, they learned to care about things beyond themselves and tried to understand the experiences of others. They also extended their concern to the weakest cats, dogs with broken legs, or children without friends. They wrote sincere thank you letters to friends, neighbors, and teachers. These efforts are at the individual and family level. The author also leads by example by participating in community and charity activities. For instance, she organized the renovation of a public swimming pool, joined parent support groups, volunteered at shelters, gave gifts to children without presents, and made donations to charitable organizations. She says, "I'm always looking for ways to improve things and help those in need. I feel that contributing to the community to make it a better place is my responsibility." She teaches her children to care about others and the world. All three of her daughters have been deeply influenced by this approach. Their chosen careers are all related to the kindness their mother taught them. Her eldest daughter acquired YouTube, not to make herself rich, but to provide a platform for people worldwide to share their lives and opinions, granting everyone a voice. Her second daughter travels around the world to the remotest and most in-need areas, working to eliminate AIDS and obesity. She focuses on the health of pregnant women, infants, and children and has published over 100 papers in the field of health. Her youngest daughter volunteered in the emergency room at the hospital while attending Yale University. Deeply empathetic towards patients who couldn't afford help, she sought ways to assist them. Initially considering a medical career, she later realized that doctors have limitations in what they can do. So, she founded a genetic testing company that empowers people worldwide to take charge of their DNA, understand their health, and prevent diseases, benefiting even more patients. As you've noticed, the author's success in education isn't accidental. When we follow a correct educational philosophy, success becomes a natural consequence, a certainty. She has not only cultivated a multitude of outstanding students across various fields but also raised three exceptional daughters. Trust, respect, independence, collaboration, and kindness, the 5 principles of the TRIC framework may seem simple, but each holds its own profound wisdom. Now, this TRIC framework isn't just being adopted by more parents and teachers, it's also being applied by some business leaders in corporate management and employee training. These principles aren't solely for education, they are applicable to all human relationships. When a person is fully trusted, respected, and cared for, their life is ignited, and their creativity and vitality flourish. Steve Jobs once famously said, "The ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world, are the ones who do." The author suggests that perhaps Jobs entrusted his daughter's education to her because he recognized her as someone crazy enough. And her daughters also view their mother as someone crazy enough. This crazy Silicon Valley mother has spread her educational philosophy worldwide, passionately shaping the next generation. She says, "The future requires crazy individuals who are independent, kind, and collaborative. We will change the world with this approach." Well, that wraps up the essence of this book. I've decoded it for you. Congratulations on finishing another book. Thank you all for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like this video, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom with practice and achieve our financial goals while creating a better future. Thank you all, and goodbye.